California, the Golden State. And I want to talk about the fall of the American Empire. Now, we are an empire. Make no mistake about that. We are an empire. You're no longer a nation. See, a nation is sovereign. A nation is not supposed to go around the world and cause genocidal wars. A nation is not supposed to imperialize. A true nation, as America was founded on, was to be a sovereign nation that doesn't meddle in the affairs of others. And we have become an empire, right? We've funded genocidal wars in the Middle East on behalf of
Turn left onto Day Creek
Israel.
Boulevard.
But really what destroys empires is from within. And it's decadent culture. Decadence destroys an empire. Decadence is the quickest thing that will destroy an empire rather than outside influences, right? And there are two things that will destroy an empire, destroyed the Roman Empire, is sodomy and usury.
In a quarter mile, use the second from the right lane to turn left onto West Foothill Boulevard, historic Route 66 East.
Of a decadent, hedonistic society, because it's a taboo, it's a forbidden bad fruit. Usury is nothing more than state-sponsored capitalism, more than state-sponsored usury, right? So this is why we have a dead economy. This economy relies on you getting a credit card and then paying interest on it, or getting loans and paying interest, right? In fact, the whole economy is based on debt, because your bank gets your money that you put in. Say you put in $80,000. If you think you're going to go to your bank one day and just get that out,
use the second from the right lane to turn left onto West Foothill Boulevard, historic Route 66 East.
They will give you your money, but you're going to have to make an appointment. It's not there on the spot, right? Because what they do with your money is they lend your money out for interest to other people. So the money, your $80,000 that you put in your bank account, is lent out to others, so that when you go to get your money out, you have to make an appointment because they don't have your money there, right?
In 1,000 feet, turn right onto the I-15 South ramp.
The bank is when people make a run on the bank, and a run on the bank is when people, a multitude of people at once, go to a bank to get their money out. It's called a run on the bank. That's what will destroy a bank, and by default, destroy and cripple financially a society and even a nation. People making a run on the bank.
Turn right onto the I-15 South ramp, then merge onto I-15 South.
Because the bank just doesn't keep your money there, they're lending it out to charge interest. Usury is a sin according to the Bible. Now you can go to the Old Testament, but we're talking about in the New Covenant. Usury is a sin. Sodomy in our country is being celebrated as something virtuous, as something to be proud about, and demonization.
Continue on I-15 South for 2 miles.
So all that is wholesome, all that has been looked at by society, rightfully so, is normal, wholesome, because whether people like it or not, the family unit is the backbone of a healthy society. The family unit is the backbone of a healthy society. So what the communists, the Bolsheviks, they hate the family unit.
In 2 miles, take exit 109B for I-10 East toward Indio, San Bernardino.
They hate the family. What they like is for both parents to be working, okay? You take your child to the brainwashing centers called the public school system, so that your children they're not raised with your morals, they're raised with the morals of the communist Bolshevik Marxists. And what they do is pollute your children with decadence, hedonism, the promotion of sodomy, which includes homosexuality, lesbianism, transgender, the whole kit and caboodle. We live in a very hyper individualistic society where you can't tell anybody nothing today. Oh, it's my right, I'll do whatever I want, don't worry about me. We're so individualistic today, right? There's very little concept of what's doing good for your nation, your society, your community. So we live in a society where
in half a mile, take exit 109B for I-10 East toward Indio, San Bernardino.
So transgenderism is perversion, it's confusion, it's genital mutilation. It is nothing more than genital mutilation. You feel me? That's all it is. Genital mutilation.
Take exit 109B.
And by the fact that they're trying to indoctrinate children who are already confused in this.
Continue on I-10 East for 72 miles.
And yet people that speak out against inundating children with LGBTQ propaganda, of which transgenderism is one of them, to steal away the innocence of kids, it's these people that are speaking out against it that are being called bigots, hateful. See, what they've done is they've turned love into hate. The desire to protect children from perversion, which is what the LGBTQ movement is all about, perversion. It's a perversion to be a sodomite, whether homosexual, lesbian, transgender. That is a perversion at one time considered by the American Medical Association as a mental illness. Love has been turned into hate. It's love to protect your children from that. Right? So now, with a transgender person shooting up a Christian school, the ultimate, see what that Christian school represented is everything the left hates, everything the communist Bolshevik Marxist government of America hates. What do they hate? Wholesomeness, family, that are raising their children in the ways of God, that want their children to go to a school that teaches moral values, family values, Christian values. They hate that. So that is the very target of the ire of those who are captive by perversion. And see, those that are, what is ugly always hates what is beautiful, right? What's beautiful is family. What's beautiful is a mom and her husband, a dad and children. That's what's beautiful. What's ugly, which is dysgenic, which is anti-nature, which is what the LGBTQ movement represents, sodomy, it hates what is beautiful. So they strike at the very heart of what is sacred, children. That's what Jesus said. If you cause any one of these little ones to stumble, better a millstone tied around your neck and thrown to the deepest part of the sea. And that's what this LGBTQ movement is doing. They're trying to pervert children. These filthy beasts are trying to pervert children. And like the Didache says in the prophecies, they're turning love into hate. See, love, according to the Bible, isn't emotional. It isn't this tolerance where you just live and let live. That's not love according to the Bible. Love according to the Bible is principles. Principles are morals. Morals come from the teachings of Jesus Christ. And you have been given a false version of Jesus by the churches. You've been given a very effeminate, weak, tolerant view of Jesus. You got to read Jesus' things. Jesus is a double-edged sword. He says a lot of great things that are comforting, but he also says a lot of harsh things that are demanding. And if you want to get the biblical perspective, even on the New Testament, about sodomy, which include lesbianism, homosexuality, transgenderism, then you go to Romans chapter 1, you go to 2 Peter chapter 2, you go to the book of Jude, and you tell me that Christianity, Bible, that Jesus' teachings and the teachings of the New Testament are in any way tolerant of that sin. No way. Now back to the usury situation. See, the Israelites in the Old Covenant were allowed by their Torah to charge usury to other nations, but not to their own brethren. Jesus Christ said, give without expecting anything back. That's what Jesus Christ said. He said, do not build your treasure here on earth. Don't serve money. See, when this whole usury debt-based system is making people servants of mammon. The usurers, those that charge the usury, are servants of mammon. They're servants of money. And those are contrary to the teachings of Jesus Christ. And so those are the two things right now that the society has been narrowed down to: sodomy and usury. Consumer culture. And so people can't help but consume. And people have multiple credit cards. Using those credit cards when they don't have no more real capital to consume. And then you become a slave to the system. You become a debt slave. I have one credit card and that's it, left to pay off, and I'm good. And it's only $1,600. And it eats at me inside that I even have that. The fall of the empire of America is coming. And people acknowledge this. We are at the twilight of the American dream. We are at the twilight of America. What will happen on the other side is anyone's guess. But likely what you're going to have is balkanization. Much like what happened to the Roman Empire. You're going to have balkanization. You're going to have different... The banks that have recently closed are the beginning sprinkle of a super collapse, way worse than 2008. We've already given up the moral fabric of what America was built on: family, wholesomeness, Christian values. We toss that aside. Christians are being demonized as hateful, bigoted. But yet, I didn't see Christians burning down cities and looting cities in 2020. See, the Bible says that in the last days, lawlessness will abound, iniquity. That's what we saw in 2020, iniquity, lawlessness abound. To think that Jesus Christ would be okay with that, then you haven't read the Bible. But that's the exact state of things right before the second advent of Christ. Now, nobody knows when Christ will come back. And God has created us in his image with the brain, with the ability, physical abilities to do things about the Kali Yuga we're living in, the dark age. Because we're in a Kali Yuga, we're in a dark age, we're in the cycle of the dark age. Now it's very popular to say, you know what? Live and let live. Because you can't tell anybody anything, and that's come down to now children rebelling against parents. The teenage rebellion, right? Popularized by James Dean. That we've accepted as normal when it's not normal. And teenage rebellion is nothing more than a form of parasitic. the parasitic soul, right? You have people that live with you, that are eating off your table, that you're taking care of, protecting, sheltering, and yet these people are against you, rebellious towards you. And the children are being justified by this, by the greater society, by the public school system, because it's infiltrated by Marxist ideology to have the children look to their parents as the ultimate authority, but to look to the state. And the family not to look to God as the ultimate authority, but look to the state. For the woman not to look to her husband as her ultimate head, but to the state. The beautiful part about this, in this fall of the American Empire, is that what will spring up will be fresh, new, but it's going to be a crucible. See, those who love our country, those who love Christ, who love the Christian values that their country was founded on, we're going to go through a crucible. And the opportunity will be for heroes to step up. This is the perfect time for heroes. Heroic action. But today's hero, tomorrow's heroes are today's enemies by the society, right? But I'm telling you, the fall of American empire is upon us. The precipice of World War III, right? See, Russia would not be doing the things it's doing with Ukraine if it was in any way intimidated by the United States. The strength of the United States military, although it is there, is highly exaggerated. And it's by design that the U.S. military, the strength of the because of the lacks of requirements. Leftist, communist, Bolshevik principles and ideology has now infiltrated the military. See, because when I was in the military, if you were found out to be a sodomite, you were put in prison. Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Because they know that what makes a soldier strong is moral fiber. And if you can't realize with your eyeballs that sodomy is unnatural, why? Because it's against nature. See, nature is a cruel God. Nature doesn't care about your political feelings. Nature does not care about your politics or ideology. Nature deems that a man and a woman produce life and it's beautiful and it carries on. Two men produce death, AIDS. Two women produce death. No continuation. So what they have to do to cope with that is adopt children. See, nature promotes fertility. The sodomite can't be fertile. But we've held up sodomy as something to be proud of and celebrate. And then we live in this highly debt usury economy, which is state-sponsored capitalism. And both of these things precipitate the fall of a nation or empire. Now, those who love the Constitution like myself and love what America represented when it was founded have a choice to make. Do we try to preserve some sort of remnants of what this country once was? Or do we just sit back, let it fall, and try to bring something up from the dust? Try to bring something up fresh and new. I don't know. That's the question I wrestle with. But it is going to fall. Now, it's not like the movies where it happens overnight. It happens progressively. It happens progressively. Right? So when you look at the state of America and you look at the average citizen, what do you see? Obesity. An unbridled avarice, greed, materialism. Consume, consume, consume. Or dopamine. Always having to go somewhere and something. Always got to be going out. Always can never keep your feet at home. Isn't that what the Bible says about the last days? Men and women will not be able to keep their feet at home. The reliance on pharmaceutical drugs to solve your health problems that you largely created by not taking care of your own body. But this is what we have, a obese, and I'm not even talking about physical, but I'm talking about an obese in every way society, a gluttonous society. Consume, consume, consume. A parasitic society that blood sucks the nation it lives on by just getting whatever they can out of it without giving. Sacrifice, nobility. So I've wrestled with this. Do I try to preserve a remnant of what this country once was? Or do I just let it fall by the wayside, let nature take its course? Because it is going to fall. Banks already closing. Financial advisors that work with huge corporations predicting a collapse far greater than 2008. Already going to the store, the gas pump, you're going to see that we're living in a time of hyperinflation. But that's what you get when you live in Wymerica. We are a macrocosm of the microcosm that was the Weimar Republic in Germany after World War I. And what did you see in the Weimar Republic? A debt-based economy funded by the Rothschild banking system and sodomy promoted. We're the macrocosm of the Weimar Republic. Wymerica. And the Weimar Republic fell, could not sustain itself. But because of the size of America and the population, the fall of America will be long and painful. But out of that fall will be a rise of the heroic man and woman who do not want this again, that don't want to live in a decadent, hedonistic, avarice culture. Because you're going to see a separation in 20 years. People that bought into this leftist, libtard garbage, this leftist Antifa ideology, this Marxist communist ideology, which is feminism, LGBTQ, and in 20 years these people are going to be on pharmaceuticals because they're depressed, because they went against nature's call to start a family, to be healthy. It's already happening now. People are more depressed than ever. They say that women are more depressed than ever. Women committing suicide more than ever. And suicide was normally known as a man's thing. Because when you reject nature to start a family, because you've got this feminist, communist ideology that you don't need a man and you're equal with the man and this, that, and blaming men for everything, you now are suffering the consequences. And now you have a generation of cat ladies. You have a generation of cat ladies. And yeah, you had all these people that bought into this sexual revolution that started in the 60s. Well, what were the consequences of the sexual revolution? Because they were sticking their middle finger out at the church, out of moral values and family values. And what was the consequences? The consequences was divorce. 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 And broken families, latchkey kids. And it produced the most violent generation late 70s through mid 90s on the streets of America. But we continue to stick our finger up at nature, at God who created nature, and say we're going to do it our way. But now what you have is people medicated. Pharmaceutical industry is strong. They got you medicated because you can't cope with reality now because you've rejected nature and you've decided to go against all that is wholesome and you've embraced all that is dysgenic and filthy. LGBTQ, feminism, atheism, consumerism, and now to cope with life, you need either to go to the smoke shop, not taking care of your temple, and then, or you pharmaceuticals. In 20 years, that divide will increase because you do have a young generation of people. I'm noticing they're not buying into the lie of the boomer generation of materialism and leftist liberal ideology. They see how it's failed miserably. And they're starting families young. Women that want to return to looking to their husband as head and not the state. Not some dysgenic, ugly women talk show hosts like Oprah Winfrey and The View, and listen to them. They actually want to be submissive to a husband and raise their families. But that divide is going to continue, and it's going to get thick. And this is why the weak hate the strong. Because we're living in a time where the weak are ruling over the strong. We're in a time where the weak hate what is wholesome and beautiful. So they have to go shoot it up in a Christian school. See, because nature always wins, guys. This is why all this leftist promotion of LGBTQ, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, that's going to fail. Nature always wins. It's just a process. It's going to be a painful process. But nature always wins, 100%. Because we're coming to the end of this Kali Yuga, this dark age. What will rise from the ashes of the American Empire will be a new thing. What will it look like? I don't know. That's why I wrestle with the question, do I fight to preserve the remnants of the Constitution, of what this country was founded on? Or do I let it crumble and be part of something new, the rising from the ashes? Nature wins all the time. Nature wins. See, America sold their soul to Israel. America sold their soul to Israel because of some crazy idea that the so-called Jews over there are the chosen people. They're not. But they sold their soul to Israel. And largely responsible for that selling of the soul of America to Israel is the pastors of the churches and the Christian church. And America now, because they sold their soul to Israel, has fought Israel's genocidal wars in the Middle East. And America sent her children to do that. Your pastors tell you to vote Republican because the Republican Party is nothing more than Zionism, Christian Zionism. And they sold your children to the Middle East. They sold your children to Israel. And so we've had the Judaizing of America. Do you ever wonder why it's common practice in American hospitals to circumcise boys? You ever thought of that? And by the way, the circumcision done today is not even the circumcision that was done in the Old Testament. The circumcision today is nothing less than genital mutilation. It's amazing to me that Christians are being demonized now in society as these hate mongers, bigots. Yet I don't see Christians killing anybody, robbing people. Islam, they can do the most dastardly things, and the left, the liberals, celebrate it like it's the greatest religion since sliced bread. It's hypocrisy. The problem with the Christian church is they have an over reliance on the fact that Christ is going to come back. But see, Christ said nobody knows. So with that being said, that means you have to be able to be willing to take action. Activism. You know, whatever it is, standing up for those things that are right, protecting the children is exactly what should be done right now. Protecting their minds from this perversion of sodomite propaganda in the school system, drag queen story hour. If you think it's normal for some 6'2" man who's deluded into thinking he's a woman to read a children's story dressed as a woman, having even children sitting on his lap, if you think that's normal, you're a retard. You are a retard. If you think that's normal. It's become hate to say that that's not normal. It's become hate to say that's not normal. And who are the ones defending these people? Antifa. The Jewish terrorist hate group. Like I said, there's a young generation of people that aren't tolerating that stuff anymore. The pendulum is swinging, guys. There are a group of young people, they don't care what their pastor says. They're not going to turn the other cheek. They don't care what their parents and grandparents say. These lame-ass boomers. Now, not all boomers are like that, but I'm talking about what the generation is known for. The most pussified, materialistic generation. They're not buying into that anymore. The pendulum is swinging. It's going to continue to swing because nature wins 100% of the time. So this leftist bullcrap, this Marxist, communist, Bolshevik garbage, Antifa, LGBTQ, it's dying because it can't sustain itself. Nature wins. Nature is a cruel God. Nature rejects the sodomite movement. Nature rejects gay pride. Nature wins. But what they got people is distracted. Listen, I'm not against entertainment. I watch football. My team's the Vikings. I'll binge watch shows. But let it have its place. But they got people so distracted with the games that you've gotten comfortable. See, what we need to bring back is that pioneer frontier spirit of the early American. That frontier pioneer spirit. A new frontier for America. Don't be overcome with entertainment. Be careful what you let your ears listen to. But so many people are Babylon's poets. Babylon's poets. The artists of the music industry. Because what comes out of these artists is nothing more than the principles of Babylon. Promoting misogyny. Promoting sleeping around. Babies' mamas. Twerking. All that stuff is toxic. It is decadent. It is hedonistic. It's ear rape. And we've become as a society, we do not allow women to suffer consequences. Women have carte blanche in the society to do anything without consequences. And if you call them out on anything, you are chauvinist sexist. So now you have women ruling over men. It ought not be like that. You have children ruling over adults. They'll call child services on you. But again, it's a sign of a decadent, hedonistic culture. Feminism hasn't worked. Getting prayer out of school hasn't worked. Getting the Bible out of schools hasn't worked. Because if you look at the societies, which were never perfect, obviously, that had those things, much more healthier than today's society that has your 6'4" freak in a dress teaching your kid about a children's story. And that's facts. So you choose what you want. Because this is not about you. It's about your descendants. It's about your seed that comes after you. What are you going to leave them with? When you're dead in the grave, what are you going to leave your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren with? Or is this all about you and how many hats you can buy, leaving the sticker on, which I never understood? How many tennis shoes you could buy? Your whip. Is that what this is all about? Or is it all about delayed gratification? Delaying gratification for yourself, sacrificing yourself for the better of your descendants after you. But no, we got to have those 20 hats. We got to have those 15 pairs of shoes. You got to have that nice car fixed up. When a car, the stupid investment is a car. That's the stupidest thing to invest in is a car because they depreciate right away, right off the lot. You're spending an inordinate amount of money on wardrobe. See, Jesus Christ taught the very opposite of those things. That's why I laugh at the Joel Osteens of the world that try to say they're Christian, and they're teaching the very opposite of what Christ taught. He taught you to deny yourself, pick up your cross, follow him. To lose your life in this world and to gain it in the next. To not serve money. If you serve money, you hate God. To not build your treasures here on earth. See, Jesus was an idealist. A noble man. King of kings, Lord of lords. Every principle Christ taught is in stark contradiction to American values and especially Christian American church values. The Christian Church of America. But the Christians today don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. You got to be willing to sacrifice your life for the furtherment of your descendants, your offspring, your seed. You have to be able to delay the gratification that you would feel in the present so that your offspring can have a better future? Because that's the one failure, big failure of the boomer generation. They were the first people, first generation to leave their descendants worse off. First generation. Why do you think the 80s was known as the decade of greed? Wall Street, greed is good. It was the boomers that came of age. They were 30-somethings in the 80s. And now the boomer generation is dying off. Now again, I'm stereotyping because there are boomers that aren't like that, but we're talking about the reputation, the broad reputation of a generation of people. Let's not be like them. See, my greatest fear in dying isn't the death itself. We all die. It's natural. It's a cycle. We will die. We should die at some point. But it's my offspring not having it better than I did. That's my greatest fear. And their children. So you got to think long range. The problem with the society is so hedonistic because of sodomy, because of usury, that they're just thinking about the instant gratification of consuming and having material possessions. Not being able to keep their feet at home. Oh, we got to go to Disneyland. Let's get the yearly pass for Disneyland. Let's go to Disney World. Let's go to Magic Mountain, Knott's Berry Farm. We just cannot stay at home. Let's go to the club. A dopamine culture. A dopamine culture. Then when we're at home, let's stuff ourselves with entertainment. And then push all these substances on the populace. Marijuana, overconsumption of alcohol, drugs, and even let's celebrate it in music. Let's promote it in music as if it's a good thing. Because all those things do is take away your sharpness. They take away your sharpness, your sharp mind. See, nature, God through nature has given you the remedy of a healthy lifestyle. Eating right, exercise, nature, sunlight, enjoying nature. So what the enemies of all that are good have done, they've given you urban cities to live in. Block after block of huge buildings. When I lived in New York for a year, I lived there for a year from mid-92 to mid-93. And I love New York. I took to New York like a fish takes to water. But one day what decided me to leave New York, because I could have made a life there. As I was walking in Manhattan, and block after block of skyscraper and building, and I said to right then I said to myself, God did not intend us to live this way. That's why I'm out of LA. I moved out of LA. Now I may have to go back, I don't know. But I moved out of it. Why? Because God intended us to be one with nature. So they're trying, the global homo society, global homogeneous, wants you, global homogeneous, they want you away from nature and into the cities. They want to pack you in like a rat. Because they know that's when the stress comes. They know that's when it becomes dog eat dog. You are a consumer living in a short area where there's many places to buy and consume material possessions, and buy material possessions and consume. So they make you into, they've taken the soul away from the American and made you nothing more than a empty vessel consumer, a soulless consumer. So now what is the popular saying now? Getting the bag. Getting the bag. Jesus never taught us to get the bag. He said, build your treasure in heaven. Seek those things that are above, Paul the Apostle says, where Christ sits on the right hand of Jehovah God, which is a statement from Psalm 110:1, which is a Davidic covenant fulfillment text. Why is that? What your pastors will not tell you at the churches, is that Psalm 110:1 is the most quoted Old Testament or alluded to Old Testament text in the New Testament. And what that text is King David prophesying of Jehovah God fulfilling the oath that he made with David, that of the fruit of David's loins one would sit upon David's throne. And Christ fulfilled that covenant, that Davidic covenant fulfillment text, at his ascension into heaven. So what that Paul is saying, seek the things that are Christ in his kingdom, not the things on the earth. See, the American dream was never about getting rich and accumulating wealth. The American dream was to worship God through Jesus Christ according to your own conscience. To be able to make enough money to support a family, build a family, maybe leave a little something, not maybe, just to leave something behind for your family, which you can do on a humble income if we remove the usury aspect of it. That's the true American dream. Freedom, liberty. See, hedonism and doing what you want enslaves you. Because wasn't that what the sexual revolution was supposed to do? Free people from the constraints of Christian morals? It was supposed to be the sexual revolution where women had power over their own body. And like I said, now you have a generation of depressed women, cat ladies. Broken families, broken dreams, broken homes, adultery. So these women of the sexual revolution are the first ones to cry when their husband cheats on them and has an affair with the secretary at work. But wait a minute, you wanted sexual freedom. Who are you to tell him and that other woman they can't? They have power of their own bodies, right? But see, women today don't want accountability for anything. They want their cake and eat it too. So again, you have a generation of cat ladies. Depressed on medication, unable to deal with the fact and cope with the fact that they bought into the lie of feminism, having power over their own bodies, sexual revolution, and it's enslaved them. Because the bottom line fact is, ladies, you are going to be looked at different than a guy is when you sleep around. It's just one of those double standards that will always exist, just like there's double standards for men. There's certain things men do. A man, if he's a stay-at-home dad, is going to be looked at different than a woman who's a stay-at-home mom. It's just one of those things. So the cycle continues. And feminism led to hedonism. And the feminists now, the traditional feminists, they're getting hit with this too, this LGBTQ thing, because they're the ones who opened the floodgates for this, and now that it's being turned on them because they don't like the fact that men are pretending to be women. A man can never be a woman, guys, sorry. They don't like that. So now it's hitting them in the face. And so if you have feminists speak out, they get canceled. And then you have the opposite of feminism, MGTOW, another Jewish ideology. And it's a woman-hating ideology. It's a bunch of men that hate women. And they say, men, go your own way. So you end up with the 40-something-year-old guy that never had kids, maybe never got married, himself probably depressed. It's all a product of this materialistic, avaristic, hedonistic society. And that's why America's going to fall. It is going to fall. There is no question about it. But it will be a long, arduous, painful fall. And within that, you're going to have balkanization. Now, what I'm ultimately hoping for is that out of the ashes of the fall of America's empire is that there is the original idea of America springs up fresh and new. Rooted in Christian values. Rooted in liberty and freedom. And family. Minus feminism. Minus victim privilege. Minus hedonism, usury, materialism. And likely, in my age, I will not see the fruits of it, but it can be part of the laying the groundwork, the planting of seeds. See, that's why you have to look at your life, that this life isn't for you. This life is for your future offspring, your seed, your descendants. This life is not yours. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to your family. It belongs to your descendants. You got to think in 40-year time periods. I just had a ex-coworker, about 63, 64 years old, at a job I was working at recently, four months ago. Me and her were tight. We always talked. She was the tightest person I was with at work. Died. Yesterday. Found out she died. Healthy. I didn't know anything was wrong with her. Died. Carpe diem. Seize the day. We have a battle to fight for those who love this country and love what this country once represented. We have a battle. Do I blame MGTOW? Listen, Del Toro, what I would do, I feel you, man. Trust me, but you got to be a hunter and look for that virtuous woman. They are there. I think the MGTOW is just the opposite identical from feminism. You got to look and hunt for that virtuous woman. They are there. But be that virtuous man that will attract that virtuous woman. Because at the end of the day, it's family that's going to win. Because that's nature. Fertility is nature. That's why that's the ultimate evil about the LGBTQ movement, because they're anti-fertility. The definition of marriage, according to the Bible, isn't having a certificate. So these same-sex couples that say they're married are not, because the definition of marriage is when a man goes into a woman, it's the uniting of the male penis with the woman's vagina. That's what makes a marriage. It's consummating that marriage covenant with the act of sexual intercourse between a man going into a woman. I said at the beginning of the whole 2020 thing, COVID and all that, said this was going to be a long war of attrition. See, Jesus isn't going to come for some rapture, and he is coming back one day, but nobody knows when. Okay, but there's no rapture the way say there's a rapture. The bottom line is we gotta do things that are long range. Got to do things that are long range in nature, long range planning. And don't buy into this hedonistic culture that tells you to get instant gratification. Lose your life in this world, that you may leave something to those that come after you. See, unfortunately, my generation, Generation X, we were dealt a bad hand by the boomer generation, our parents. So our curse is that we're not going to enjoy the fruits of what comes out of this Kali Yuga. But we can redeem ourselves by planting the seeds for something beautiful to come out of the ashes of the fall of the American Empire. 49 years old I am. You don't realize how quick time goes. So I know if I live to my late 80s, that's 38, 39 years away. 39 years. Carpe diem, seize the day. And I pray, my biggest prayer for myself is to have the energy and strength to do something about this. Yeah, I used to listen to Tom Leykis. I actually saw Tom Leykis in person in downtown LA. He did a show there. But I think he's part of the problem. I think he was part of the problem because that's an empty thing too, to just go around sleeping with women. The best thing a man can do is find a virtuous woman. They are out there. Maybe rarer today than ever, but they're out there. They're out there. They are out there. At the same time, this is an exciting time because with the fall of something that has been polluted, you have the chance to build something new and fresh and be part of that. My goal before I leave this earth is to get my children up and running, my children prepared for me not being there. That's what my life has got to be. It's got to be that. Because that's what lives on. Your seed, your offspring, your descendants live on. You will one day die. And that's another thing about today's society, because it's so hedonistic, because it's so materialistic, everybody's scared to die. And everybody's scared to die in a very toxic way. Obviously, none of us want to die, right? But to have this inordinate fear of death, like it's a bad thing. Death is nature. That's natural to die. It's in the cycle of life is to die one day. That everybody has this inordinate fear of death, like this unhealthy fear of death. And it's because the society's been polluted by hedonism and feel-goodism and instant gratification and materialism, that people are scared to leave all that behind. So God forbid they die, so they hold on to life. They hold on to living for dear life, when it's very natural to die and healthy to die. So what the society is, it's trying to teach you to hate everything that's natural. Death, hate producing family and fertility. Hate the remedies for your health that are natural. But artificial societies don't last. Societies built on sodomy and usury do not last. Weimar Republic, Germany, the Roman Empire, us. Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you, First of Kind Media. Thank you for tapping in. Salute. Yeah, find a cause to die for.
In 2 miles, take exit 130 for Bob Hope Drive.
But also be wise and know you got to live for that cause too. To live for it. And this is the thing. The idealist, he's almost never appreciated while he's alive. See, Jesus wasn't appreciated while he was alive. He wasn't appreciated by the masses till he died. So just know that if you're an idealist, you're not going to be appreciated in this life. In fact, you'll be rejection, and scorn will be what you eat for breakfast and lunch. But if you stick to your principles in this life without selling out, you will be honored by those that come after you once you're dead. That's just the way it works. You will be honored after you die. If
in
you
half a
stick
mile,
to your
take
ideals
exit
while
130
you
for
live,
Bob Hope
even though
Drive.
May be mocked and scorned. That's how it works. So don't seek popularity. Don't even seek to be loved by people. Stick to your ideals. Be willing to die for them, but also live for them. Let your life be an expression of what your ideals are.
Take exit 130. In a quarter mile, use the right 2 lanes to turn right onto Bob Hope Drive.
And this society has to come down because you see what it's produced. See,
Use the right 2 lanes to turn right onto Bob Hope Drive.
The result of usury, which is nothing more than state-sponsored capitalism, produces what we see today on the streets. A multitude of homeless people. And what is the coping mechanism?
Continue on Bob Hope Drive for 6 miles.
Drug use, methamphetamine, fentanyl, heroin. It has become the copium, the cope of many people, the coping tool. But again, like I said, America's so big, it will be a long, arduous, painful fall. Because America has sold its soul to Israel. Which is the synagogue of Satan. Israel is the great Satan, and America has sold its soul to that Satan. And we now are paying the price through the macrocosm that is the microcosm of the Weimar Republic. And the two things are decadence and usury that bring down any nation. Hey, there you go. I'm in Palm Desert, bro. Yeah, exactly. Drinking and even overeating can be coping methods. Absolutely, bro. That's what it is. That's why people today struggle so much with gluttony and alcoholism. And it's a sad state of things. And what I recommend young parents is do things your way in raising your kids. If you know it's right, you do it your way regardless of what anybody in your family says. You do things your way. Because at the end of the day, if things don't go right, they're going to blame you for it. The very people you listen to advice from. Do it your way. What people need is a soul rebirth. I find it in Christianity. You can find it in culture, music, art, language, reading about history. Anyways, guys, hour, so I'm gonna pretty much end this as I approach that borderline there. A salute from the kingdom of Jesus Christ in the Coachella Valley, the Golden State. Just remember, never give up hope, and sacrifice yourself for the future generations to come.